Hi, everybody. This is John Willis. Presentation is called DevOps 2020 Rethink. This was a collaboration with a couple of my coworkers. I'll talk about them, but one of them is Jay Bloom and Andrew Clay Schaefer and Kevin Bear. But so I just want to make sure there's credit for some of the slides they collaborated with me on. So this presentation is about, I called it DevOps 2020 to sort of set the stage of that last 10 years, we've done a really good job in DevOps. And so the question is, what are we going to do now? It's the start of the next decade. And so I some things that I've been thinking about sort of areas that I think we need to delve into a little deeper. And the three areas I'm going to focus on is what I call organizational conversations, organizational design, and something that we're calling my team, and I'll explain my team in a minute, the three economies. So so this is my team. I started at Redhat last October in 2019, and that's Andrew Clay Schaefer. He's my boss. That's Kevin Bear next to him, and that's me, the small guy. And then Jay Bloom, who I've been working with. He's getting a PhD in transition design. So a lot of these ideas that I'm going to be pointing out really come from him about how does design and transition design apply. As Andrew likes to say, we wrote some books. I was the co-author of DevOps Handbook, co-author of Beyond the Phoenix Project, Kevin co-author of the Phoenix Project, and Andrew co-wrote Web Operations and some of the site reliability engineering. So here's the deal, right? This is the sort of the Pete Cheslock joke. We come to find out this slide was actually originally created by Patrick Debois. All things lead back to Patrick. But if you think about the last 10 years, like this, sort of like we've been this unicorn poop, if you will, on the enterprise, right? And I mean that in the best possible way, like DevOps Enterprise Summit, all the accomplishments we've made. But like it's been a struggle, right? Starting off like the enterprise, the first conversations were, I don't think the enterprise can do DevOps. And then it was, can security apply the security things around DevOps? And here we sit at 2020. I think we've got that pretty much solved in terms of everybody has the memo, right? But if we look at digital transformation, like by all accounts, this conversation around digital transformation has been creeping up for the last couple of years in a modern discussion. It's been around forever. You see a lot of stories about failures, different reports, different studies. This one particular one says 70% of all digital transformations fail. So sort of jokingly, right, the next 10 years, maybe is digital transformation unicorn poop gonna get, but we're gonna have to. And I'm half joking because the truth of the matter is we do have to have a better, stronger, bigger conversation about what we're doing. And again, like for most of the people that are at this conference, you've all been doing that. It's for the people that we need to educate. And so Andrew came up with this idea of 5 elements, and I'll talk to Andrew Clay Schaefer, my boss, my coworker. And so I'll talk about it in a little bit, but if we think about sort of the 5 failures, right? Like leadership, right? They again, the people that we interact with today and at this conference, right, we tend to be better than this, but a majority of the organizations out there are still leadership is preventing change, either in the form of governance and risk or just general business, product building things that don't matter. We really still haven't gotten Eric Ries's memo yet from Lean Startup. Development in a lot of cases are still building the wrong things. Architecture or basically designing or not even involved in the decision of the design. So they're building the things wrong. And then in operations, we still have a split mindset of incident, operations, outages, and sort of half in on service management, half in on sort of DevOps or some of the new sort of thoughts about incident management. So what I wanted to propose is some of the areas that I've been thinking about as this rethink. We're sitting here at 2020. We could say, like I said earlier, that we've done a really good job, and we have. Like we should all collectively, and I'm being serious, pat ourselves on the back. We've done a tremendous job in the industry, improving commerce, improving people's lives. But the question now is, at 2020, what are we going to do for the next decade? Because if we're still talking about GitOps and CI/CD in 5 years from now, then we probably have failed miserably, and the digital transformation discussion will have overtaken us, right? So we really need to start thinking about how we improve. If you go back, 5 years ago, if you had a conversation about continuous delivery, that was a novel idea. Today, it's table stakes. So we don't want these conversations to be, we want the new things to be table stakes. So the first thing I want to talk about is something I've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years. I've called a lot of things. I'm just going to call it organizational conversations. And this is where I've gone into large organizations and really just literally spoke to hundreds and hundreds of people, usually come in at the CIO level. And usually it's a champion inside of the organization that says, you should talk to this guy, John Willis. He sort of knows what he's doing. And then I get to talk to CIO, and I convince the CIO to let me just have conversations. And I want the conversations where I talk about the people at the edge, the people who put their fingers on the keyboard, because I'm more interested in that form of discussion than I am talking to leadership and top down. I want to go bottom up. And so I've done this over the last few years, very large banks, insurance companies. And one of the things I came up with, which is this quote I've made, which is, you can't lean, agile, safe, or even DevOps your way out of a bad organizational culture. So the idea is that we have to, these ideas like lean, agile, safe, are great frameworks or great pattern and practice tools for us. But the thing, if we don't get to the bottom of how things really work, or the truth, or have the real conversations with the people doing the work, these things actually can give us false truths. And so one of the things I've been doing over the last few years, I've had this thing that I call the 7 deadly sins of DevOps. I won't go into this in detail, but there are patterns that you find when you have these conversations. And one of the most interesting ones is they all seem to funnel down into what I call security and compliance theater. In other words, your audits are basically nonsense. And I've got full presentations on this, and some of the work I've been doing, automated governance and